Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today, I am so honored to have a conversation with actor, director, screenwriter, and producer James Roday Rodriguez. You've seen James in Psych and the Psych movies, A Million Little Things, Pushing Dead, Christmas Eve, and more. Most recently, James directed a couple episodes of the show High Potential. Thank you so much for being on my show. I can't tell you how excited I am to be talking with you.
Thank you for finally giving me the spot. I've been beating your door down for a while here, praying that someone would drop out so that I could get in on this thing. I'm I'm stoked, Maya.
Thank you. Well, you've been a dream interview of mine for as long as I've been doing interviews. So I've been, yeah, trying to interview you for 8 years. So I can't believe this is actually happening.
Well, it's been a long 8 years for me too. I'm so glad we were able to make it happen, and I suppose we should give the assist to our dear friend Jimmy Simpson because he's the
Yeah.
one that told me about you.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm so grateful to him to for so many reasons and for connecting me with you. So,
He's about as good as they come human-wise.
yeah, definitely. I was just in LA and I had lunch with him and it was so much fun.
Yep, his heart is about as big as Alaska, and he can turn just about anything into a headband, and he'll rock it and he'll crush it. And you can't say that about just anybody.
Yeah, I love that. Um, so who has had the biggest impact on you professionally?
Wow, what a great question. You're leading with a toughie. Well, hold on, let me get loose. Let me get a little this is a little elasticity in the shoulders, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of where it needs to live so that I can give you the good stuff. I would say it started very early when I was in high school. My high school theater director, may he rest, instilled in me a very real and dare I say essential sense of confidence that I could attack this crazy dream of mine because I grew up in Texas and I didn't know anybody and my parents didn't know anybody. And I don't think that I necessarily would have had the drive to go for it the way that I did if he hadn't sat me down and said, "You can do this." I've been doing this for a long time. A lot of kids have come in and out of these doors, and I really do think that you have what it takes. Like when you're that young and that impressionable, like you don't realize how important it is, to have someone that you look up to who believes in you, because you'll take it at face value. And when he said that, I was like, well, heck, I'm doing this. I'm absolutely doing this. And if I could wish one thing for every young person at that point, at that critical point in their lives, where they're holding their dreams in one hand, and something perhaps a little more practical um, or grounded in the other hand. I hope they have someone that tells them to follow their dream because, we only get one crazy ride on the merry-go-round, and I absolutely think it's worth, chasing whatever you think is going to fill your heart the most. And I had that, and I feel very, very lucky. And once I got into this business, there's too many people to thank who kind of helped mold me along the way, who've given me great advice, who've taught me about, the various crafts that I've shown interest in. And yeah, I guess the message is not just with what I do, but with what anybody does. Um, it's invaluable to have mentors, to have to have people that know more than you do around, um, that can check you when you get out of line. They can shake you when you're not appreciating what you have or you're not living in the moment, and just remind you how everything can be gone in the snap of a finger. Um, I've been very lucky to have a lot of those types of people in my life, and I'm better for it, and I think my work is better for it as well.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So who has had the biggest impact on you as a person?
You're just gonna keep throwing the high inside heat, huh? This is it?
Yeah.
Hi, Barbara Walters. I'm gonna have to say that it's probably my best friends. Like, I moved away from home when I was, 18 years old, and and that was a long time ago. I know you look at me and you probably think, what are you, 25, 26? But I'm older than that, Maya. I'm older than that. I've been able to rent a car for a very long time. Uh, but one person that's been there the whole time is my best friend Todd, who I grew up with in San Antonio. We went to high school together, moved to New York together, moved to LA together, and have worked on a whole bunch of stuff together, starting with Psych and most recently High Potential, because that's the job he has now. He's running High Potential. So it's been pretty wild that two of us from the same city in Texas who, you know, had no idea how to make it in this business, managed to sort of hang on tight and hold on to each other and go on this journey and experience everything together. That's been really special. And to look to my right and always have like someone who knows me, like who I really am and who I've always been, has been so grounding and so special and so invaluable. Um, and nobody's been next to me for longer than that. So I think he's had I think he's had a lot of influence just because of all the different phases that we go through, um, as we're learning about ourselves. Some are good, some are awkward, some are not so good. And to have somebody there who always, sees you through it, who isn't going to go anywhere, and who you can count on to see you at your worst. Because it's easy, right? It's easy to like see people when they're at their best and they're thriving and everything's going great, right? Those people are always fun to be around. Um, but it's when those things aren't happening and you still have someone that has your back. That's when you know you're okay. That's when you know you're not alone and you're good. Todd's always been that for me. I have other friends like Jimmy who have also very much been that for me. Um, like I said, it's been a wealth of riches in terms of the family that I've chosen and the friends that I've had. Because this is crazy. This is a crazy life we lead. I have to let Judy the Boston Terrier outside for a sec. She rings the little bell, and that's how we know. That's all right.
I love that. Yeah. Um, so what song best describes your life right now?
Wow. My life right now in this moment. I know I know we all have a lot of feelings, um, about Michael Jackson. Um, but if you separate the artist from the art, I'm gonna go with a Michael Jackson song. Um, and that's Man in the Mirror. And the reason I'm gonna say Man in the Mirror is because you'll understand this in about 35 years when you reach middle age, Maya. But when you're in it, uh, life starts to look really different than it did when you were young. And you kind of have to take a beat and you have to sort of look in the mirror, like almost literally, and say, all right, what do I want this sort of next chapter to look like? What do I want it to feel like? Because it's probably going to be, you know, the the most important chapter that you have left, right? Because at some point we're all going to be, really, really old, hopefully. And we're not going to have the same opportunities. We're not going to be able to do the stuff that we're used to doing. So you've got one really good stretch left in front of you if you're lucky, if you're blessed enough to be healthy. What do you want that to look like? Who do you want to be? Who do you want around you? Um, what boxes do you still want to check? And are you the person that you need to be? Are you the person that you want to be? Are you the partner that you want to be? Are you the friend that you want to be? Because this is your last stretch, you know, to do some tune-ups and, to get to those places that you still want to go. So checking in with yourself, looking at the man, the woman, the person in the mirror, that's that's certainly where I am in my life at this moment, Maya. Huh? You take that, you throw me high inside fastballs. I take a couple swings, I missed the first couple, but then boom,
Yeah.
right at the fat of the bat, barrel of the bat. Sin-
Yeah, I love that. Um, so what has been the biggest obstacle you've overcome?
The biggest obstacle, I've been really lucky, Maya. I've had a story where you almost couldn't write it better. It's been like a fairy tale. I wanted to do this crazy thing, this big, big dream, and I left home, and I never looked back. And I started getting work as an actor right out of college. Um, and my journey started. And I guess you could say I was in the right place at the right time, and I didn't question it, and I jumped on the train. Um, and that's an important piece of advice for anybody who's doing what I do, is that, if the train comes in, even if it doesn't look the way you thought it was going to look, or if it smells kind of funny, or if maybe the bathroom is closed, you still get on it. You get on the train, right?
Yeah.
You go wherever it's taking you. Um, I would say if there has been an obstacle, it's that sometimes the burden of creativity and being an artist and needing to be an artist, like not being able to sleep or be at peace or be happy if you're not creating art, is that it doesn't always line up with commerce, right? It doesn't always go lockstep um, with the machine that allows you to make that art.
Yeah.
So, in order to sort of marry those two ideas, you kind of have to make some compromises, like you have to let go of some things that are difficult to let go of, because in the big picture, you know, hey, at least you're still getting to make something. That's not that different than being in a relationship, If you love somebody, it's not always going to be perfect. There's always going to be differences. There's going to be stuff that you got to figure out. You got to make compromises. They have to make compromises so that you can meet somewhere in the middle and be as happy as you possibly can. Very similar relationship between art and commerce, right? Um, and so sometimes you feel like little pieces of you are being left behind, or tiny little slivers of your soul are dying. Um, but the alternative is that, you got to go do something else. And unfortunately, that's not in my DNA. As much as I wish I could just flip a switch, and change directions and go do something else with my life, I know that I can't do that. So So you sort of live in a perpetual state of what's the next compromise. And that is the biggest obstacle.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. So what lessons from your childhood have most impacted your worldview?
Well, as I mentioned, I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, where there was no trace of, the movie business or the television business or, or Broadway or anything. At least back in the 80s and early 90s. And the fact that I could come from there, having not been exposed to any of that, and go, chase a dream and and discover that dream and hold on to that dream uh, without anybody giving me a cheat code is a lesson that I think anybody can take, which is like it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter who you know. If you are willing to give everything you have to something, and this is going to sound really cliched because we've heard this a million times and we've heard it in every halftime speech and we've heard it, from every inspirational teacher and life coach that's out there. But the truth is, you can do it. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to look pretty. There's going to be some lean times. There's going to be valleys that you have to dig yourself out of. You got to, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, all that stuff. But you don't have to be born on third base. You don't even have to be born on second base. I'm I live deep in a baseball metaphor, Maya. That's sort of been like the theme of our whole talk so far.
Yeah.
Like you can get there. You just have to be persistent. You have to believe in yourself. You have to keep your eyes open for those opportunities because you never know when they're going to land, and you have to be ready to jump on them. And that means sacrifice. I think maybe the best way to translate all of that, stuff that I just said is, you can't be afraid of sacrifice. And I think for me, I knew that I was going to have to do whatever it took because of the fact that I didn't have a lot of help and I didn't know anybody. And if you're not afraid of sacrifice, sacrifice comes in many forms too, Maya. Like sometimes it's as simple as, hey, I'm a young person. I want to have fun. I want to be out there having fun. I want to be out there, going to parties and doing what young people do. But if that doesn't line up with your dream, if that doesn't line up with the goals that you're trying to achieve, then guess what? You probably shouldn't be out there doing all that fun stuff. And that sucks. Like that's the sacrifice. But you got to be ready when that opportunity comes, and you have to be in the right headspace. And sometimes in order to do that, you give up some of the fun stuff. Um, and I did that when I was much, much, much younger, and it paid off. So that's a pretty good lesson, I think, to throw out there. Like it's hard to think big picture as a young person because it's just so big and you haven't been there yet. But you kind of have to, and you kind of have to get out of the moment for a second and go, yeah, this would be a really fun thing to do, but what if by doing it I missed out on a real opportunity that could sort of push my career forward? Like, maybe I don't do that. Maybe I don't go on that third trip this year or whatever that looks like. Um, maybe I do the boring thing, and maybe the boring thing leads to the big thing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Um, so if you had a warning label, what would yours be?
These are good, Maya.
Thank you.
Done a lot of these, I gotta tell you, and you hear a lot of the same questions over and over and over again. And I will tell you that in 25 plus years, no one has ever asked me what my warning label looks like. Um, my warning label. I would say maybe don't judge a man by the socks and sandals that he wears.
I
I
like
mean,
that one.
that dude, that dude can still surprise you.
Yeah.
Uh, so don't sleep on him because his feet may be selling one thing, but there's more going on. There's more going on than you think.
I love that. Um, so I am pop culture obsessed and go in stages of shows that I cannot stop watching. Is there a show that you are currently obsessed with?
Let me preface this by saying sometimes you just it's important to turn your brain all the way off, right? Which a lot, and when I do that, it allows me to appreciate things that might feel counterintuitive to a bunch of the stuff that I said when I was answering your previous questions. Um, but this show hosted by Alan Cumming called The Traders on the Peacock, it's basically a reality gaming show um, based on the game Mafia or werewolves, or there's a lot of different names for it. And when we were on Psych up in Vancouver, and it was basically just the cast, and that's why it's one of the reasons we got so tight, is because we all left our families and our lives and we moved to Vancouver, and we were there for 7 months a year. One of the things that bonded us and became sort of like an ambassadorship for the show was playing epic games of Mafia with with the guest stars, with our crew, um, weekly, bi-weekly. Like that was sort of like a staple. That was like bedrock of our social lives up there. So it kind of became part of our DNA. And now it's like somebody turned it into, first of all, how did we not do that first? Like that no one played more Mafia than we did. Why didn't we turn it into a TV show? But secondly, now that it is, I really do enjoy watching sort of the gameplay because I know that game so well. And I love watching how people play it differently and the different strategies. And I just like getting to that round table. I could really care less about the silly missions that they have to go on, um, and the bugs and, finding bags of gold in the jungle. I want to get them back around that table lying to each other and trying to suss out, who's a traitor. Maya. That is the show that, and you know what else? It's like The Voice, like it's spreading all over the country. So there's like a whole bunch of different versions. So, when you need your binge and you're like, oh man, I just finished season 3 or whatever, you just go on the interweb and there's like the UK version and the Australian version and the Canadian version and the Netherlands, and it's a deep dark hole that you can go down, but there's a lot of content there. And the best part is you don't really have to invest emotionally. um you don't have to judge it on its artistic merits because there really are none. You can just sit there and have a good time, and the stakes are low and the cost is low. And especially right now, um, you know, the place we're all living in, the climate, how divided we all are, that's not such a bad thing, to be able to turn your brain off for a second and and just sort of smile and feel the low stakesness of it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love shows that just can give you an escape. And yeah, I definitely have those.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what Psych was for a lot of us,
Yeah,
not just watching it, but also making it. It felt like a real elixir for whatever anxieties or stresses that seize hold of our lives and have kung fu grips on us sometimes. Uh, that job was such a lovely respite from that. We would go in every day, no matter what was happening, and laugh our butts off. Um, and it was such a gift. And then we got to do it, and then our fans got to laugh at us doing it. And I think that's what created such a copacetic relationship between, us and Psychos, is that we were kind of all in it together, feeding off one another. It was interactive, it was reciprocal. The more you laughed, the more we wanted to make you laugh, and vice versa. And that became like a really special escape for all of us.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, Psych is yeah, one of my comfort shows, and that's one of the shows that just helps me turn my brain off.
Maya, would it be fair to say that Teen Wolf is also one of those shows for you?
Yes. How could you tell? Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Can't slip anything by me.
Yeah. 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 So, what small things bring you joy on a daily basis?
Crushed ice. Um, like if you've ever been to like a Sonic, they have the crushed nugget ice. Um, and I have a little crushed ice maker that just sits on the countertop so that you can just have crushed ice all the time. And I can't tell you what a game changer that was. Um, because the simple things that you can count on are sometimes the only things that you can count on. And if I know that no matter what, when I walk into the apartment, I can get a glass with crushed ice and pour some tasty beverage over the top of it, chances are, at least for a few minutes, I'm going to be a pretty happy guy. Pretty happy guy, Maya. Um, I would say slides. I mentioned the socks and sandals earlier, like a recovery slide or a recovery shoe with no laces, regardless of how ridiculous it looks or how unstylish it is. Simple thing that brings me great joy is foot comfort, Maya. So, foot comfort, crushed ice, um, and dogs. My
Yeah.
own dogs, other people's dogs, dogs in movies, dogs in television shows. Um, just seeing a dog gives me a little lift. Always has, always will. Elephants too. A lot of animals do that for me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I love it too, Maya. I love it too.
Yeah. Yeah. So what genre of movie would your life story be told as?
Well, I've been watching horror movies since I was about 5, which is not something I would necessarily recommend to parents to let their children do. But I'm a lost cause. That ship already sailed, man. So it's in my DNA, it's in my bones. I feel like it's the genre that I know the best and that I've probably worked in the most and written the most. So the obvious answer is that my life should probably be told somehow in a horror film. And you might think, well, that means it could end really badly for you, James. And that is true. But if I went out gloriously, if it was like one of the best kills of all time, if it was the most creative, gory, like body ripping, next level end that anyone had ever seen before, with the best special effects, all practical, no CG, um, that makes you kind of want to stand up and cheer in the theater. I would feel pretty solid about that being the end of the movie for me. Um, you go out big, like in horror movie rules. If it got like best kill of the year, I would feel pretty solid about that.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, my best friend tries to get me to watch more horror movies because I can't watch them, but he tries to get me to watch more horror movies and I try to get him to watch more rom-coms. So,
Remember when we were talking about compromise, right? Meeting
yeah,
each other in the middle, right?
yes.
That's it. That's it. It applies to watching movies too. So yeah, maybe you do Friday the 13th part six, and then they do Notting Hill. You know what I'm saying? That's the
Yeah.
trade.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the one I keep trying to get them to watch is the movie Home Again with Reese Witherspoon. So I haven't succeeded at getting him to watch that yet, but
Persistence, Maya.
yes.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so what is something people are always surprised to learn about you?
I think it's, I mean, everybody who knows me is no longer surprised. But upon first blush, I think it's often surprising when people discover how deeply rooted I am in music from the 80s and 90s, specifically um, female recording artists. Um, and I say this to set up the fact, here it comes, here it is. I have, I'm one of the only dudes that have attended all of the Lilith fairs, all of them. It was 3 years plus sort of like a half rebooty thing. Multiple coasts. Um, by doing so, I feel like I was able to see every female artist just about that I could ever imagine seeing live. And then I did it again, and then I did it again. And I didn't even have this ridiculous thing on my head when I did it. You know, this actually probably would make a little more sense if this is what I was rocking back then. But no, um, I was just a young dude who wanted to go see, Sarah McLachlan and Tracy Chapman and Joan Osborne and Tori Amos, and this was my jam.
Yeah.
These these were my ladies.
Yeah.
Um, and I still very much do that. I still will often listen to those same artists trapped in the same period of time when I listen to music.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Lilith Fair, all of them.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I love that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Um, so do you have any irrational fears?
Irrational fears. Again, with the no nonsense, with the tough questions. I don't know how rational this is, but if someone is driving way too slow, my instinct kicks in to get as far away from that vehicle as I possibly can. Like, most people see like a motorcycle threading through traffic or somebody doing, 90 miles per hour and think, that's so dangerous. You're going to cause an accident. You're going to kill somebody. I'm the exact opposite. If I see a vehicle on the freeway doing 31 miles per hour, something kicks in that says, get away from that person because if there is an accident, they're the ones that are going to cause it. So I may have an irrational fear of people that drive way, way too slow.
Hmm.
When you asked that question, I was worried. I was like, this is going to be the weakest moment of the interview because I don't have anything. And I found that little piece of truth, Maya, and now it might be my favorite answer.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I've never heard that.
It's the least I can do. You're throwing questions at me that nobody's ever asked and that nobody's ever heard. And so I gotta give you a couple answers that you're not used to hearing either.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
well, you're welcome.
Yeah. So I just have a few more questions if that works for you.
Yeah, let's do it. Fire away. Don't hold back. Teen
Okay.
Wolf it. I want you to come at me with full Teen Wolf energy. Serve it.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So what movie or show do you find yourself quoting more often than you'd like?
Ooh, more often than I'd like. See, you always put the little twist at the end, right? You think
Yeah.
you think you know what's coming and you're ready to answer, and then you twist it. And now I got to think. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back in time for this one because I don't think there's a movie that applies right now. But when the first Borat movie came out, I was quoting it to the point that my fellow castmates on Psych were considering like a mutiny. Like I think they were having private meetings behind my back about we got to get rid of this guy. And then my dear friend Michael Weston came up to do the show and we were doing it together. And that put everything over the top to the point that Dulé like in between takes. This was the This was like the lawyer one where Weston played. This is like season one, and then we remade it in season eight, and he came back and played the character again. But um, like in between takes, like Dulé took the floor, like in front of the whole crew and everybody, and he said, "You guys have to stop doing that." It's like I cannot listen to you do the Borat voice and do the Borat jokes anymore. And he put us on sudden death probation. And a moratorium was put on my wife. Like no more. We couldn't do it anymore. Um, and I don't know, I felt like it was almost beyond my control. Like I knew that it was too much, right? I knew that I had crossed a line, and yet probably because I had a partner in crime in Michael, I just couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. And
Yeah.
I'm glad in retrospect, I'm glad that Dule dropped the hammer on us.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, yeah, my brain is just filled with show and movie quotes just to quote in any situation. So,
You know, I recently had a back issue and I was seeing a specialist um, who gives like injections, and I would have to lay with my face down and get these injections into my spine, which is not the most fun thing that you can do. But while I was doing that, all he did was quote comedies from the 80s and see if I could guess them. So and I had multiple sessions with him. So it was like go in, lay down, start getting tortured, and then try to guess 80s movie quotes. And I'll be honest, it was a nice way to sort of, distract yourself.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Are you doing better now?
I'm doing so much better, Maya. And if you ever find yourself having the same issues that I had, I will send you to this same doctor so that you can crush all of his movie quote quizzes. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You'll end up getting your back fixed and you'll dominate him, right? You'll own him. And I think he'll have fun with that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, one of the shows I quote all the time is Psych, no matter what situation I'm in. That's one of my go-to shows.
I need a couple of these quotes. I need the ones that pop out of your mouth the most often.
Um, I mean, I've heard it both ways.
Because
Uh,
you have. Obviously, you have heard it both ways.
Yes. Yeah, I actually have a shirt that says I've heard it both ways. And then another one that says San Francisco. Uh, so
Somewhere, Steve Franks is eating a gigantic bowl of cereal and smiling.
yeah, and then I have an like a sweatshirt or sweater that has a pineapple on it and says psych. So I have lots of psych merchandise. Um, and but there's I've heard it both ways and oh my God, now I'm blanking on everything because
Because I put you on the spot, much like you've put me on the spot for the last 30 minutes. Huh?
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, and that's fair. Yeah. Also, I'm just so starstruck talking to you that
I'm starstruck, Maya. I've heard all about you. Like I've heard the stories. I know about the sword play and the diving and all of that stuff. And I was nervous. I was nervous coming on. I was like, look, this is a girl that whipped Teen Wolf's ass, and I have to go on an interview and pretend like I'm cool. Um, yeah, Jimmy gave me some tips. I'm very thankful for that, but it was intimidating. It was intimidating.
yeah, well, I was intimidated that I knew I was gonna be talking with you, and I've been dreaming of interviewing you for 8 years. I was like, I can't believe this is happening.
You're doing great, and if there were judges and someone had to score it, I think you would be beating me right now. And you know what? I'm just going to make my peace with that. Not that it's a competition, but if it was a competition, I think this is a unanimous decision. Maya TKO over James, and I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with it.
Um, so, how do you keep yourself motivated even on days when you aren't fully feeling it?
Man, that is a hell of a question, especially for this exact moment that we're living in. I think again, as cliched as this may sound, you just you take the beat to look around you and recognize all the things that you have to be grateful for because it feels like those are the things that are also the easiest to forget because we often take them for granted. And when you take the good things for granted, the bad things really can start to weigh you down. Um, and it doesn't mean that you're weak, you know, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It's just very human. It's part of the human experience to be more affected by like a new bad thing than an old good thing. But the truth is, and again, like I said, if you have those people in your life that you trust that can always look at you and say, hey, don't forget, you've got this, and this. And that alone means that that you're lucky and that you have a very rich, emotionally rich life. If you can keep yourself in tune with those things on the worst possible days, when the worst stuff is happening to you, look, it's not like a magic trick, you know, um, because bad things feel bad, right? You can't flip a switch and make them not feel bad. But just keeping an inventory of all the good things that are there, that are always there, that you might take for granted, because they're always there, is a pretty good way to hit the reset button, I find. Um, and again, you know, I have a wonderful partner. I have two wonderful dogs, and sometimes it's just a matter of just stopping, taking a breath, looking at all of those faces, and realizing, shit, I have it pretty good. You know, I'm a pretty lucky guy. This thing that's pissing me off right now is gonna pass, and I'm still gonna have these three beautiful faces. I'm a lucky guy.
I love that. Yeah. I yeah, I know I try to um yeah, I have a lot of anxiety and I feel like it's been worse lately with lots of things in the world, so I try to just like focus on yeah, I try to focus on um the good things and try not to think about, everything that's causing me anxiety. I know when I was in LA, there were a lot of things in the news that just I couldn't deal with. And but we were doing like so many fun things that it was easy to distract myself and
Yeah, and so the trick is, what do you do when you're not on a vacation, right? What do you do when you don't have like a whole agenda of things that are designed to distract you?
yeah,
That's when it's tougher, right?
yeah,
And also remember, like we're all in this crazy pot of soup together. You're never the only person feeling anxiety, Maya. I promise you. Like we're all feeling it. It doesn't matter what you believe, what ideology you subscribe to, politics, religion, it doesn't matter. There is something that's causing all of us extreme anxiety, right? We're all feeling it. We all feel the weight. And we all feel like sometimes it's too heavy and how are we possibly going to get out from underneath it? Even the people that believe the exact opposite of things that you believe in every possible way, where you're like, I couldn't be more different than that person. They still feel the same anxiety that you feel, right? And that's also an important thing to remember sometimes when we have different beliefs and we're at odds with people and we think, oh man, that person is my enemy, right? That person has fears and anxieties and stuff that they don't feel like they can say to anybody, just like you do. And that is the human connection that we all share.
yeah,
And that's another thing that, to remind ourselves of when we feel like we could punch somebody in the face. Because look, there are people that have very punchable faces, Maya,
yeah,
and some people might think I have a punchable face. And who knows? I'm not really helping my cause right now with the stash and the man sprout. But even those people with the most punchable faces have stuff going on that you can't imagine,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
just like we do. So the more we can remind ourselves that we're all connected and that we're all sort of going through this together, maybe that helps to stop and breathe a little bit.
yeah, definitely.
Who is this woman on your wall? And why isn't she talking? And why hasn't she moved the entire interview?
That's Ariana Grande. You don't recognize her?
Her arm must be killing her because she's been holding that bag the entire time.
Yeah.
And she's just been statuesque still. So good job, Ariana. She did not once pull focus from you, Maya.
Yeah.
That's like the best sidekick you could ever hope for. She doesn't speak, she doesn't move. Yeah,
Yeah.
good thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that it's actually very funny when I first got that cardboard cutout, my mom had the best time putting it all over the house to scare me and my sister. Um, so
Good mom work. That's
yeah,
good mom work.
yeah,
Look, you gave her that tool and she used it.
yeah,
So you can't be mad at her for that.
yeah, no. My sister and I just found it very funny. So
Good job, mom. Good
yeah,
gag. Good bit.
yes. Yes, she once put it in my sister's bed. So when she opened her covers, Ariana was just
Yeah.
there.
Chilling, taking a nap with
So
her eyes
yeah,
open. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, and so yeah, my family is we're all big fans of yours. So my mom and my sister were very excited that I was talking to you today too.
Please tell them how much I appreciate your entire family and how excited I was to get a little bit of time to talk to you and hear about you because like what an honor it is for me as well, Maya.
Thank you. Yeah, I just have one more question for you.
All right, sock
Um,
it to me. You want to play a little music or do you want to keep it loose in the shoulders before we do the last question to make sure we get the best version of it that we can possibly get? Here it is, here it is, here it is. Okay, I'm ready.
okay. Um, yeah, so I love inspiring and motivational quotes. And this week, the one that spoke to me is if you keep carrying bricks from your past, you'll end up building the same house, just in a different location. Is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
First of all, it's a very powerful quotation that you just gave us all. Um, and I think that's very true. And I think some people might say the silver lining is that, you know, you're really giving your tries and your buys a nice workout and like, you know, you're seeing the difference, right? You're seeing the musculature in your arms. And as a result, you think it's a good thing just because, you know, you've got Popeye arms.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not. You're going to end up building the same exact house in a different location. That's very good. That's deep. I like it. Um, I always go with Maya Angelou, who told us, you know, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. Um, I think those are pretty good words to live by. And if I butchered the exact wording of the quote, I deeply apologize. But um, the meaning of it, I think, is it's life motto worthy. It's a way to navigate this crazy world that we live in. Take care of ourselves and know who is worthy of our love and who is not. Um, so Maya, if someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that quote. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not good, but you got to believe them anyway, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I always, yeah, I know when I first, yeah, heard that quote, it just really, yeah, stuck with me too. So, yeah. Um,
The actual quote, so that I don't misquote Maya Angelou, my God, shoot me, is when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
yeah, I love that. Yeah. Well, that was my final question for you. Um,
Maya,
I
first, this is the best interview I've ever done.
Oh, thank you. That means the world to me. Thank you.
Hands down, you had the best questions. They were the most thoughtful. You had a nice flow to it. One question informed the next question, you know, that was like small moments, but then there was a bigger theme. You are absolutely delightful. Ariana showed a lot of control,
Yeah.
um, and reverence to you, which I appreciate. Uh, yeah, this was a A plus interview. You're you're the best.
Thank you. That means the absolute world to me. So thank you. And I have just had the best time talking with you. I just want to keep talking with you. So thank you so much.
Well, we'll do it again. We'll do it again sometime. We'll catch up. Maybe when some new exciting stuff is happening for one of us, we'll just jump back on and talk some more. How's that?
I would love that.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, so thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too, Maya. It's been an honor and a privilege.
Thank you. And that's a wrap on today's edition of the latest with Maya.